Hi everyone, my name's Yujiro Taniyama, and I'm the finalist for the US State Department's Democracy Veto Challenge. And today I'd like to first introduce you a letter. I have it right here with me. This is a letter written by Mr. Dean Rusk, who was the former US Assistant Secretary of State. And in this letter, sent to the South Korean Ambassador Yang back in August 1951. As regards to the island of Dokdo, otherwise known as Takeshima or Liancourt Rocks, this normally uninhabited rock formation was, according to our information, never treated as part of Korea, and since about 1905 has been under the jurisdiction of the Oki Islands branch office of Shimane Prefecture of Japan. The island does not appear ever before to have been claimed by Korea. So, as Mr. Rusk mentions in this letter, the United States government acknowledged Japan's sovereignty over Takeshima Islands. In this letter, it says that the Koreans never owned the Dokdo or whatever you call it today. This is a concrete proof, ladies and gentlemen, that the U.S. government back in the 1950s, they denied South Korea's claim. And I have just one more document I'd like to introduce you. And this is a report written by the former U.S. ambassador, Mr. James Van Fleet. He wrote it back in 1954. And let me introduce you the report. It goes like this. The island of Dokdo, otherwise called Liancourt and Takeshima, is in the Sea of Japan, approximately midway between Korea and Honshu. This island is, in fact, only a group of barren, uninhabited rocks. When the Treaty Peace of Japan was being drafted, the Republic of Korea asserted its claims to Dokdo, but the United States concluded that they remained under Japanese sovereignty, and the island was not included among the island that Japan released from its ownership under the peace treaty. The Republic of Korea has been confidentially informed of the United States' position regarding the islands, but our position has not been made public. Though the United States considers that the islands are Japanese territory, we have declined to interfere in the dispute. Our position has been that the dispute might properly refer to the International Court of Justice, and the suggestion has been informally conveyed to the Republic of Korea. So guys, this is the truth of the Takeshima Island dispute. In both documents, the U.S. official documents I've just introduced you, the U.S. government clearly denies South Korea's claim that they have no historical background, they have no legitimacy, they have nothing whatsoever. But instead, as it says in this letter by Mr. James Van Fleet, he says that the Japanese sovereignty will be acknowledged, which means Takeshima belongs to Japan. Since, I tell you what, the Japanese fishermen, we've been fishing around the Takeshima Islands since the mid-17th century. This is a fact. And the smart U.S. officials studied everything after World War II and came out with the conclusion that Takeshima Island is a Japanese territory. It had been for hundreds of years. South Korea, as it says in these letters, South Korea never claimed sovereignty over the islands. The first letter I just introduced you by Mr. Dean Rusk, it says so, right? However, guys, in history, there are always people who violate international law and international rules. And the man who violated the international law was Syngman Lee, the former president of South Korea, in 1954. Syngman Lee, he ignored these U.S. officials' documents, he ignored international views, and he also ignored international law. But instead, he suddenly dispatched military vessels to Takeshima, invaded it, occupied it, violating the international law to this very day. This is nothing but a theft, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you think so? Go to an island with a gun saying, "This is ours, get out." Since 1954, South Koreans have been occupying the Takeshima Islands illegally, saying it's, and also changing the name too, saying it's Dokdo. It didn't bloody exist, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm allowed to use a British term. It did not bloody exist, mate. He clearly mentions that Takeshima is a Japanese territory in this letter. But since South Koreans are historically denying the truth of history, the fact, the legitimacy, so then Mr. James Van Fleet writes, okay, then why don't you take it to the International Court of Justice, Hague? But as it says here in the U.S. official document, the South Koreans, they simply ignored that proposal. Why? You know why? Because if we take it to the court, the South Korean government knows that they will have to let go of the islands because they have no legitimacy. So Mr. Lee Myung-bak, the incumbent South Korean president, and the South Korean government, I tell you what, if you claim sovereignty over the Takeshima Islands, you call it Dokdo, okay? If you say the island is yours, then prove it. Just prove it in the court. Prove it in the International Court of Justice, in front of all the world. That's what Japan has been trying to do. We've proposed to your government, South Korean government, to take this case to the International Court of Justice, but you've denied it 2 times already. Why? Because, as I just said, you know that you're gonna lose. You have no historical background, no legitimacy whatsoever. And that is proven in the 2 documents I've just shown you by the U.S. officials. Please, South Korean government, don't waste your energy swimming 40 kilometers to Takeshima Island from South Korea. I read that news the other day. I mean, I laughed my head off. We don't need that kind of propaganda. We should settle it fair and square, democratically, peacefully, okay? Under the international law. That's all I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. And the more you keep on running away, the more the South Korean government, they keep on running away from taking this case to the International Court of Justice, the more you will look like a thief, because that's what you did back in 1954. Okay? So please, don't swim to Takeshima, but instead, you should swim with us, Japan. We swim together, not to the islands, but to Hague, the International Court of Justice. You guys are swimming to the wrong direction. Let's swim together towards justice, truth, and democracy. Thank you very much.